And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Tellstones, The King's Gambit. Now, this game got a lot of buzz, and you say, what, this little game? Yeah, because this game is made by Riot, the largest video game publisher on the planet. Also, making one of the biggest splashes in gaming and changing the landscape of gaming somewhat with their huge game, Mechs vs. Minions. Mechs vs. Minions, which was based on, of course, League of Legends. Big, giant, grandiose, cooperative game with beautiful miniatures. Brought game trays, which they used to hold everything into place, and actually, I think, was the inspiration for a lot of the way Kickstarter games are published and produced at this point in time. Riot Games was so big, they were able to sell this big, grandiose game for a very reasonable price point. It was a lot of fun. I certainly said so and really enjoyed it. So everyone was kind of surprised when they started teasing their next game. Hey, there's a new game coming. It's this, and out comes this little small game. All right, fine. You know, this is one of those, you know, they're doing something different. It's still good quality, right? But it's just a smaller game. All right. Moving on to a different kind of audience, same designers and stuff. I read the rules for this game, and I said, no, I'm missing something. This just sounds like a memory game. So I read them again and again, and now I'm going to show them to you. This is the line. This is going to be between the two players. There are 7 different stones here with 7 different symbols on. You'll put 6 of them over here in a pool. You'll randomly put one in the middle of the line. And then you're going to take turns back and forth until someone wins, which they'll win by getting 3 points or by winning a boast, and I'll talk about that in a bit. So on your turn, you have an action that you can take. So you're going to pick one of 6 different actions, and then it's your opponent's turn. One of the actions is adding a new piece to the middle. Now, whenever you do these actions, it's almost always going to be your opponent. So I'd be like, hey, I want you to move the flag in. And then your opponent will place it here. And it will go next to one of the ones that's already out there. You can also, you can place it out there. You can also say, hide one. You point to it, your opponent then turns it face down. You can also say, switch. And I can switch any 2 stones that are in play, whether they're face up or face down, etc. I can also peek at one without letting my opponent look at it. That's the one time where you're allowed to touch it rather than your opponent. And then you can try to score points. So the placing, hiding, swapping, peeking, those are the most of the game, but you want to get points. So I can say to my opponent, I challenge you to name this stone. So they will say, I think it's the sword. It is the sword. All right. If they guess correctly, they get a point. Otherwise, I get a point. And then finally, you can boast. Now, boasting is probably done when there's several face-down stones that are out there. And I basically, when I boast, I say, I know all the hidden symbols. When I do that, my opponent has 3 options. They can say, sure, yes, you do. If they do, I get a point. Remember, 3 points wins you the game. Or your opponent can say, I don't believe you, prove it, and then I need to list each one. And I'll say, this one is the horse, this one is the sword, this one is the, I don't know what the other pieces are, the hammer and the scale. So I have to flip over each one. But if I'm incorrect, when I do that, my opponent wins. So when you say that, you're bluffing to win the game. If my opponent says, I don't care, I know them too. Oh, by the way, if my opponent says, you don't know them, and I flip them over and I named them all correctly, I win. If I'm incorrect, I lose. But my opponent could say, I don't care, I know them too. And at that point, my opponent steals the boast, and they are going to pick. Then I have to say, okay, yes, you do know them, and give them a point. Or I say, no, you don't. Prove it, in which case they will win or lose. That is pretty much the whole game. This is Riot Games. Riot Games makes quality games. It comes with a letter that brings in, some nice background. It has these cards that show you what you can do on your turn. It shows you all the symbols in case you've forgotten. These are really high quality and they fit very nicely into this case here. They slide in like this. Look at that. It's beautiful. I love this case. The insert anyway. I'm not as big of a fan. This mat's okay. It's, whatever. It's felt, but that will fit in here. The cards, the really gorgeous rule book, which is a little hard to read and has a ton of background and text about it here. But you put all that in here with the letter, I guess, and then you'll be able to close everything and snap it if I had folded the mat better. This here it's nice. It feels like a bullet case or something, but I don't know, it looks okay on the shelf. I mean, it's a nice little thing to carry around, but it is chunky. You could really hurt someone if you dropped it on their foot or something. I don't know that I could express more to you who are watching how much I hate this game. I really do. And I know that's kind of a strong statement there. And this one mind-boggled me. So this Tellstones came with a embargo date last week. And I didn't post it then. I waited till this week to post it, my review of it. But I went and watched every review that popped up on the embargo date because I was curious. And almost across the board, they were universally positive, which really surprised me. But when I listened to them talk about it, all the positive reviews always seemed to come with a sort of justification. And I talked to other people and there was that justification. And people said, yeah, but Tom, you don't know the audience for this game. Tom, you got to play it a certain way. And to that I say, balderdash. This is a memory game. This is dressed up real beautifully, has really nice pieces, has all this lore. It's a memory game. There's nothing else in this game. It is literally, can you remember these stones that you move around in the middle? And you say, but your opponent moves them. Who cares? They're beautiful pieces. Who cares? Tom, you don't understand the League of Legends backstory. Who cares? I want to know, is the game good? And the answer is, it's not. This game could literally be played with 7 pieces, and the fact of the matter is, folks, and this is the truth, if this was made by anyone else other than Riot, nobody would even talk about this game. Nobody would play this game. But because it's made by Riot, we are talking about it. It almost feels to me, now, look, I don't need Mechs vs. Minions 2, although that would be nice. I don't need that. I get it, but it feels like that person who's a very popular movie star in big budget movies and they're like, look, I got to show I can act, so I'm going to do something small and cool. And that's what this feels like. It's like, look, we can do other things too. Well, I don't know, because this isn't good. I don't know what to tell you, folks. I went through this game and I played it and I looked at it in 6 different ways from Sunday, and it's a memory game every time I look at it. And it's not only a memory game, it's a really slow one. And I had people argue me, they're like, you can bluff. You can say, I know what's underneath these, and your opponent's like, oh, do they know or not? Here's the fact. If you're playing me, I will always be bluffing because I don't remember them. The game has these unwritten rules, which is, by the way, very ironic to call it unwritten rules and have them written on this page here. But anyway, it's like, well, you can talk to your opponent and say other things and try to get them to forget stuff. You can do that in every game that's ever been designed. They're like, you can bluff and pretend you know stuff when you really don't. You also can do that in every game that's ever been designed. This game is literally 7 different pieces in a row, moving them around, and then saying you know them or not. There's nothing else here, and to pretend otherwise almost is disingenuous, I feel. So, of course, my opinion. Other people may like it. Maybe you do need to know the League of Legends backstory for you to enjoy this. I can't see how that makes any sense at all. Maybe you do need to read these pages in the rule book where they tell me that the sword is the truth and illumination of the protector's blade shall drive out the darkness from our foe's heart. But it's also a picture of a sword. It's an abstract memory game. I don't hate memory per se. just straight memory of 7 pieces and continually mixing them up until someone forgets, the person who has a really good memory is going to beat the person who doesn't every single time. That's the game. Maybe after you watch this, you will say, I'm really interested. Great. I hope you enjoy it. I hope the people, like I said, I've seen people who say they're enjoying it. Perhaps they are. And perhaps I am the rare outside person who just does not like this game. But it wasn't that I just didn't like it. I despised the game. It's so boring. It is this little, I often say, sometimes I'll review a game and I'll say, there's so much game packed in such a small container. But the game in here is smaller than this box. And this is a small box. Can't recommend it. But, hey, who knows? At least they're trying different things. They're trying new things, and for that, I applaud Riot. Hey, let's try some new things. This one, in my opinion, is a failure. They can try new things, and maybe the next one will be a success. We can hope so. But that's what I think of Tellstones, King's Gambit. Not for me at all. Dice Tower Judgment? Man, I don't like this game.